What if I told you that a huge chunk of Toronto's destiny, from the glittering skyscrapers that shape its skyline to the news you read every morning and even the teams you cheer for on a Saturday night, is guided by the visions of just 10 families? These aren't just wealthy people, they're modern-day dynasties. Their stories are woven from ambition, smart ideas and generational wealth, and they've become part of the very fabric of Canada's biggest city. They're the quiet shareholders and the public-facing chairmen, the real estate titans who decide what gets built where, and the media moguls who steer the national conversation. Their power is immense, their influence is everywhere, and their fortunes are staggering. So, who are they? How did they build these empires, and how do they wield their incredible influence over Toronto and all of Canada? Let's peel back the curtain on the 10 richest and most influential families in Toronto. Our list kicks off with a name tied to Canadian farmer, huge wealth, and a tragic mystery that gripped the nation, the Sherman family. The family fortune was built by Barry Sherman, a brilliant and fiercely driven entrepreneur who started Apotex Inc. back in 1974. His mission was to make high-quality, affordable generic drugs, and in doing so, he completely shook up the Canadian pharmaceutical industry. He relentlessly took on the big brand-name drug companies in court, fighting to get cheaper alternatives on the market. This aggressive style made him a hero to some and an enemy to others, but you can't argue with the results. Apotex grew from a tiny 2-person operation into a global powerhouse, shipping to over 115 countries and employing thousands, many right here in the GTA. It became the largest Canadian-owned pharmaceutical company, a true giant born from its founders' sheer grit. Barry Sherman was famously frugal. Despite being a billionaire, he drove old cars and poured his resources back into research and the endless legal fights that defined his business. But the Sherman family story took a dark and public turn in December 2017. Barry and his wife, Honey, were found dead in their North York home. Police would later call it a targeted double homicide. The case is still one of Canada's most famous unsolved crimes, and it casts a long shadow over the family's legacy. Honey Sherman was a major philanthropist, a beloved figure in Toronto's charity circles, known for her generous support of hospitals, universities, and Jewish community groups. In the wake of the tragedy, the family has had to deal with immense personal loss while managing a massive estate. Apotex was sold in 2022 to an American private equity firm, which marked the end of an era. Still, the money from that sale, on top of their other investments, ensures the Shermans remain one of Toronto's wealthiest families. Their legacy is now a complicated one, a story of incredible business success and generosity, forever linked to a profound unsolved tragedy. If you've ever shopped at a big box retail centre in a Canadian suburb, you've been inside the empire built by Mitchell Goldhar. His story is about seeing a huge opportunity that everyone else missed and turning a single, powerful partnership into a real estate dynasty. Goldhar is the founder of Smart Centres, the company that basically invented the Walmart-anchored shopping centre in Canada. Back in the early 90s, Goldhar had a bold idea. He saw the massive potential of Walmart and convinced them to partner with him for their big move into Canada in 1994. While other developers were still building old-school enclosed malls, Goldhar perfected the open-air power centre, huge plazas with big box stores and tons of parking. He didn't just build a few, he built them at a dizzying pace, developing over 175 Walmart stores and more than 265 shopping centres across the country. The strategy was a massive success, making Smart Centres the king of retail real estate and Mitchell Goldhar a billionaire. But his empire is more than just shopping plazas now. His companies are turning their retail lands into entire master-planned communities. The most ambitious project is the Vaughan Metropolitan Centre, a 100-acre development that's transforming suburban land into a high-density urban core with condos, offices and parks. It's a visionary plan that shows where suburbs are heading and sets up Goldhar's empire for decades of growth. Though he's a titan of industry, Goldhar also invests in his passions. He's a sports nut who plays hockey and squash, and he even owns the Israeli soccer team Maccabi Tel Aviv FC. Back home, he's a dedicated philanthropist and even taught a real estate course at the University of Toronto. Mitchell Goldhar's influence is written all over Toronto's suburbs, a legacy that started with retail and is now creating brand new city hubs. His current net worth is pegged at around $2.7 billion. In Toronto, few names are as recognized in sports and city life as Larry Tannenbaum. With a net worth estimated around $2.8 billion, he's the public face of Toronto's biggest sports teams and a major player in construction and charity. Tannenbaum is the chairman and a minority owner of Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment, or MLSE, the company that owns the Maple Leafs, the Raptors, Toronto FC, and the Argonauts. Getting to the heart of Toronto's sports world was a long-term goal for him. He was born into a prominent family. His father, Abraham, started a steel and real estate empire after coming to Canada from Poland. Larry first followed in the family footsteps. After getting an economics degree from Cornell, he took over the family construction business, Kilmer van Nostrand, and turned it into a major force in heavy civil engineering, building things like subways and bridges. But sports were his real passion. In 1991, he led a bid to bring an NBA team to Toronto, but it failed. He didn't give up. He eventually bought a piece of the Maple Leafs in 1996 and was key in merging the Leafs and the new Raptors team under one roof, creating the MLSE powerhouse we know today. As chairman of MLSE, Tannenbaum has been at the helm for a golden era in Toronto sports, highlighted by the Raptors' incredible NBA championship win in 2019. His influence isn't just in the boardroom. He's a respected governor in the NHL, the NBA, and the MLS, which gives Toronto a strong voice in North American sports. Away from the arena, Tannenbaum is still a major force through his family's private investment firm, Kilmer Group, but his biggest impact might be through his family's philanthropy. The Tannenbaum Family Foundation gives millions every year to healthcare and education, with huge donations to Mount Sinai Hospital and the University of Toronto. Larry Tannenbaum isn't just a billionaire. He's a city builder, shaping both its physical foundations and its cultural identity. While some of Toronto's richest families are household names, others prefer to stay behind the scenes. Carlo Fidani is definitely in that second group. With a net worth of about $4.3 billion, he is the chairman of Orlando Corporation, one of the biggest and most discreet private industrial real estate owners in the GTA. If you've ever worked in a modern office park or had a package delivered from a huge warehouse in Mississauga or Brampton, there's a good chance it was on land owned by Fidani's empire. The Fidani fortune is a three-generation story. The business was started as Fidani and Sons in 1948 by Carlo's grandfather. His father, Ore, grew the company massively, setting the stage for its dominance. When Carlo took over in 2000, he pushed the Orlando Corporation to even greater success. The company's strategy is simple but brilliant. Buy huge pieces of land in key growth areas and then develop, own and manage millions of square feet of industrial and office space. Today, Orlando Corporation's portfolio is massive, spanning over 40 million square feet. Unlike many of his peers, Carlo Fidani keeps an incredibly low profile. He almost never gives interviews or appears in the media. His focus is all business. However, his influence on the city's health is very public and very profound. Fidani is one of Toronto's most important healthcare philanthropists. He has made massive donations to hospitals and medical schools, including a huge $10 million gift to the University of Toronto's Faculty of Medicine to help start the Mississauga Academy of Medicine. His name is also on the Carlo Fidani Peel Regional Cancer Centre, and his company has pledged millions to support other local hospitals. Carlo Fidani represents a kind of quiet power. His family's wealth wasn't built on splashy brands, but on the land and buildings that the whole region's economy relies on. His legacy is twofold: the invisible empire of steel and concrete that keeps commerce moving, and the very visible life-changing impact of his generosity in healthcare. Peter Gilgan is the man who built the suburbs of Toronto. That's not much of an exaggeration. As the founder of Mattamy Homes, he's put a roof over the heads of a staggering number of families and has shaped the GTA's landscape more than almost any other person. With a personal net worth estimated at $6.4 billion, his story is one of sharp vision, relentless growth, and lately, incredible generosity. Today, Mattamy Homes is the largest privately owned home builder in Canada and a big player in the US, having built more than 135,000 homes across North America. The company's revenues are in the billions, all thanks to Gilgan's ability to scale up his vision. In recent years, Peter Gilgan has become just as well known for his philanthropy as for his business smarts. He's one of Canada's most generous donors, especially to hospitals and schools, and his donations are transformative. He's given tens of millions to institutions across Toronto, including a landmark $40 million to the Hospital for Sick Children. He's also given huge amounts to St. Michael's Hospital and the Peter Gilgan Centre for Research and Learning. His giving shows a deep commitment to the city where he made his fortune. From the sprawling neighbourhoods his company built to the cutting-edge research centres his generosity funded, Peter Gilgan's impact on Toronto is monumental. In the world of Canadian business, Mark Leonard is a ghost. He's the billionaire founder of a Toronto-based tech giant, yet he is famously private, with almost no photos of him in public and a strict policy of never talking to the press. With a family net worth around $5.2 billion, Leonard built his empire, Constellation Software, on a strategy that's as unusual as he is. After getting his MBA and working in venture capital, Leonard founded Constellation in 1995. The company's business model is simple on paper, but incredibly hard to pull off. Instead of trying to invent the next big thing, Constellation buys and manages small niche software companies that serve very specific industries. Everything from library management to marina operations. They buy these vertical market software businesses and then just hold them forever, focusing on steady, profitable growth. And this patient, disciplined approach has been wildly successful. Constellation has bought hundreds of companies, growing into a massive tech conglomerate worth tens of billions, all while staying completely off the radar for most people. Leonard's leadership style is just as unconventional. He's known for writing incredibly detailed and thoughtful annual letters to his shareholders. They've become required reading for investors because of his sharp insights on business and long-term thinking. But beyond those letters, he's a phantom. According to a report in the Globe and Mail, his past jobs include mason, gravedigger, bouncer and wind energy researcher, painting a picture of a man who has lived a very interesting life. His family, who owns a big chunk of the company, shares his desire for privacy. While we don't know much about his specific charitable work, his influence is felt through the economic impact of his Toronto-based company. It's a different kind of tech success story, one built not on hype but on quiet, relentless competence. Mark Leonard is Toronto's mystery tech titan, whose immense wealth was built by staying out of the spotlight. The Rogers name is everywhere in Canada. It's on our phone bills, our TVs, our sports stadiums, and our hockey jerseys. The Rogers family dynasty, with a fortune that has been valued at over $11 billion, is a true Canadian media and communications powerhouse, with its heart right here in Toronto. The empire started with a spark of genius. In the 1920s, Edward S. Rogers Sr. invented the world's first all-electric, batteryless radio. It was revolutionary. His promising career was cut short when he died young, but his son, Ted Rogers, would pick up where he left off and build an empire that would have blown his father's mind. In 1960, Ted Rogers bought CHFI, a small Toronto FM radio station. From that one station, he began a relentless campaign of expansion. He was a true pioneer, jumping into cable television when it was brand new and later into the wild west of wireless communication. Through decades of aggressive takeovers and high-stakes business gambles, he built Rogers Communications into one of the big three telecom giants in Canada. The empire also grew to include sports with the purchase of the Toronto Blue Jays and a major stake in MLSE. The Rogers Centre is a landmark in downtown Toronto, a constant reminder of the family's influence. When Ted Rogers died in 2008, he left behind a carefully designed trust to keep the company in the family's hands. That structure has been a source of both stability and, more recently, some very public drama. A messy power struggle erupted within the family and the company board a few years ago, pitting family members against each other in a battle for control. The saga played out in public, giving everyone a rare peek into the pressures that can bubble up within even the wealthiest families. Today, with Ted's son Edward Rogers as chairman, the family still has ultimate control. Their influence on Toronto is almost impossible to measure, from the media they create and the networks they run to their deep ties with the city's beloved sports teams. The Rogers family story is a Canadian epic of innovation, bold empire building, and classic family drama. For generations of Canadians, the Weston name has meant the food on their tables. From a loaf of bread to the weekly grocery haul, the Weston family's influence on the country's food and retail world is unmatched. They are an undeniable force, a dynasty that grew from a single Toronto bakery into a global commercial empire. The story started in 1882 when George Weston, a young baker's apprentice, bought his own bread route in Toronto. He soon opened George Weston Limited, and through smart business moves, it grew into Canada's biggest bakery. His son, W. Garfield Weston, took over and expanded the business with incredible ambition, buying up grocery chains and moving into other industries. He set up the family's two main pillars, George Weston Limited, which controlled food in North America, and a huge portfolio of international retail stores. The third generation, led by Galen Weston, completely changed the Canadian grocery game. In the 1970s, he took over the family's struggling Loblaws supermarket chain. With brilliant branding and the launch of the iconic President's Choice and No Name brands, he turned it into the #1 food retailer in the country. Loblaws, with its headquarters in the historic Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto, became a national institution. Galen's son, Galen G. Weston, became the fourth generation to lead the company, serving as the public face of Loblaws for many years. Internationally, the family owned some of the world's most luxurious department stores, like Selfridges in the UK and Holt Renfrew in Canada. While they recently sold the Selfridges Group, they still control the massive George Weston Limited, which includes Loblaws and Choice Properties, a huge real estate trust. This ensures their net worth remains in the billions. The Westons have also been among Toronto's greatest philanthropists. The Weston Family Foundation has donated hundreds of millions to causes like conservation, brain research and the arts, with huge support for the Royal Ontario Museum and the Art Gallery of Ontario. Their legacy in Toronto is complex. They represent both the comfort of a familiar brand and the immense power of a dynasty that has shaped how all Canadians shop and live. She is the richest woman in Canada, a major power player in one of the world's most powerful media empires, and yet almost no one knows who she is. Sherry Bridson is probably the most private member of the ultra-wealthy Thompson family, but her personal fortune, estimated to be somewhere between a staggering $17 billion and $20 billion, puts her right at the top of Canadian wealth. Sherry Bridson is the eldest grandchild of Roy Thompson, the man who started the Thompson dynasty. She's a cousin of David, Peter and Taylor Thompson, but she is a power centre all on her own. Her incredible wealth comes from her 23% ownership stake in Woodbridge, the private family holding company that controls all of the family's assets. This stake makes her the single largest shareholder in the family firm, giving her enormous, if quiet, influence over the entire Thompson empire. And the crown jewel of that empire is a controlling stake in Thomson Reuters, the global financial data and news giant. Unlike her cousin David, who is the public-facing chairman of Thomson Reuters, Sherry Bridson operates completely out of the spotlight. She has no official job at the company, but her ownership stake says it all. Her influence is built into the very structure of the family's wealth. Based in Toronto, Bridson has used her resources for her own ventures. She owns the award-winning Elmwood Spa, a luxury wellness retreat in a historic downtown Toronto building, as well as the restaurant next door, Bangkok Garden. But these ventures are just a tiny fraction of her total fortune. True to the Thompson family way, Bridson is intensely private. She has never given a media interview. Her life is a closely guarded secret, but we know her philanthropic work focuses on causes she is passionate about, like women's rights and environmental conservation. Sherry Bridson represents the ultimate form of inherited power, wealth so huge and influence so fundamental that it doesn't need a public profile. She is the silent stakeholder at the heart of a global media empire, making her one of the most powerful and fascinating figures in Toronto. At the very top of wealth and power in Toronto, and in all of Canada, stands the Thompson family. With a combined family fortune estimated to be north of $70 billion, they aren't just the country's richest family. They're a global dynasty whose name is tied to media, information, and immense closely guarded wealth. Led by David Thompson, the third Baron Thompson of Fleet, the family controls a massive empire from their base in Toronto, influencing everything from global financial markets to the national news. The dynasty started with Roy Thompson, a true rags-to-riches story. In the 1930s, he started with just one radio station in North Bay, Ontario. He then moved into newspapers, buying up small-town papers across Canada. From there, he expanded to the UK, became a major media baron, and eventually earned a British peerage, becoming the first Baron Thompson of Fleet. His philosophy was simple. He bought newspapers to make money, and he was very, very good at it. His son, Kenneth Thompson, was a different kind of leader. Quieter and more reserved, he shifted the company's focus from newspapers to specialized information services, a brilliant move that set the stage for the modern company. He also changed the family's impact on Toronto's cultural life, becoming one of the most important art collectors and philanthropists in Canadian history. His donation of thousands of works of art to the Art Gallery of Ontario, along with a massive financial gift for its expansion, completely transformed the institution. Today, the third generation, led by chairman David Thompson, runs the empire. The key to their fortune is their 69% stake in Thomson Reuters, a global giant in financial data and news, all managed through the family's private holding company, Woodbridge. This company holds the wealth for David, his siblings, and his cousins, including Sherry Bridson. The family also owns the Globe and Mail, Canada's most influential national newspaper, and has a stake in Bell Canada. Despite their huge public influence through their media companies, the Thompsons themselves are famously, almost obsessively, private. David Thompson, in particular, avoids the spotlight, preferring to focus on his own world-class art collection. He's known to be one of the world's top collectors of the English painter John Constable. This mix of immense public power and intense personal privacy is what defines the Thompson dynasty. They are the quiet rulers of Canada's financial and media landscape, a family whose decisions, made from behind closed doors in their Toronto offices, are felt around the world. They are, without a doubt, the richest and most powerful family in Toronto. From the bedrock industries of real estate to the modern titans of tech and telecom, the stories of these 10 families are really the story of Toronto's growth. They are dynasties built on bold vision, relentless ambition, and, in many cases, the good luck of inheritance. Their influence is undeniable, carved into the city's skyline, embedded in its economy, and woven into its cultural life. They've built the homes we live in, the stores we shop at, and the teams we love. And through their incredible philanthropy, they've funded the hospitals, universities, and art galleries that shape the very soul of the city. The concentration of so much wealth and power in so few hands raises big questions, but one thing is clear. These families are more than just residents of Toronto. They are stakeholders with the power to chart its course for generations to come. If you found this look into Toronto's power structures fascinating, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more explorations into the hidden forces that shape our world. And let us know in the comments which family story surprised you the most. Thanks for watching.